ever feel like your brain is just overflowing?
Oh, yeah.
Like crammed with to-dos and worries? Maybe even that embarrassing song from middle school you just can't shake.
Oh, totally.
We're diving into Declutter Your Mind today
Okay.
to figure out how to reclaim that headspace.
Yeah,
And it's about way more than just tidying up your physical stuff.
that's right. The book dives into the idea of decluttering your thoughts to sharpen your focus and boost productivity.
Right.
It's a timely topic in our constantly connected world.
Absolutely.
I
Okay,
know.
so the book uses this really interesting analogy
Yeah.
of a cluttered computer.
Uh-huh.
You know how a computer gets sluggish and apps crash?
Yeah,
The whole thing just becomes a mess when it's overloaded.
for sure.
The authors suggest our brains can be the same way.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's a compelling analogy.
Okay.
What's fascinating is how the book connects that tangible image
Uh-huh.
to the science of focus.
Right.
It highlights how mental clutter disrupts the brain's ability to prioritize.
So it's really impacting how our brain works.
Think of it like this focus is a currency,
Okay.
and mental clutter is like having a wallet overflowing with expired coupons and random receipts.
Oh, I see.
It makes it much harder to find what you need when it really counts.
So it's not just a feeling of being overwhelmed.
Right.
The book suggests our brains literally can't function as well with all that mental junk in the background.
Exactly. Our brains are constantly bombarded with information.
Yeah,
When they're cluttered, it becomes a challenge to sift through everything
I can imagine.
and allocate our attention effectively. We end up feeling drained and inefficient.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Now, the book dives into 5 specific types of mental clutter that tend to bog us down: worry, regret, guilt, negative self-talk, and fear of failure.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Why do you think these are so hard to shake?
Well, each of these types of clutter has a way of latching onto our minds. Let's
Yeah.
take worry, for example.
Okay.
The book points out that worrying often feels like we're taking action,
Oh, interesting.
even though it's rarely productive.
Right.
It gives us a false sense of control
I see.
in situations where we feel uncertain.
It's like we convince ourselves that by worrying about something,
Yeah,
we're somehow preventing it from happening.
precisely. And then there's regret,
Uh-huh.
which the book cleverly connects to our sense of identity. We tend to hold on to past mistakes
Right.
as if they define who we are,
Yeah.
making it even harder to let go.
You know, I can definitely relate to that. I've hung on to some past decisions for way too long,
Oh, yeah,
replaying them over and over in my mind.
I get it.
The book uses a powerful phrase,
Okay.
emotional hoarding,
Wow.
to describe this. What are your thoughts on that concept?
It's a striking image, isn't it?
Is it?
We often focus on decluttering our physical spaces,
Right.
but the book emphasizes the importance of emotional decluttering as well. It's about recognizing those painful memories and negative thoughts we cling to
Yeah.
and finding healthy ways to release them. It certainly makes you think about what we're holding on to,
Yeah. Right.
that's no longer serving us.
Yeah. And to help with that process of letting go,
Right.
the book introduces these 3 powerful concepts:
Yeah.
acceptance, forgiveness, and compassion.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on how those tie into emotional decluttering?
Sure.
I'm really interested in that, especially the forgiveness piece.
Okay.
It's always been a bit of a struggle for me, to be honest.
I hear you.
So how does Declutter Your Mind approach that?
It's interesting. The book reframes forgiveness
Okay.
in a way that really resonated with me.
How so?
It emphasizes that forgiving someone
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean condoning their actions,
Right.
but rather releasing yourself from the burden of resentment.
I see.
It's about acknowledging the hurt,
Yeah.
choosing to let go of anger,
Hmm.
and ultimately freeing yourself from the weight of the past.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, myself included, get stuck in the idea that forgiving someone means saying what they did was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more about taking care of your own well-being, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Holding on to anger and resentment can be incredibly draining.
Right.
It clutters our minds
Yeah.
and prevents us from moving forward.
Okay.
And what about the other 2 concepts?
Mhm.
Acceptance and compassion.
Yeah.
What stood out to you about those?
I like how the book links acceptance to acknowledging what happened without dwelling on it. It's like,
Right.
okay, this happened, it wasn't great,
Yeah,
but I'm not going to let it consume my thoughts anymore.
exactly.
And compassion, I think, is really about understanding where other people are coming from, even if their actions hurt us.
It's about recognizing that everyone is fighting their own battles and carrying their own burdens.
Okay.
The book suggests that cultivating compassion allows us to step back from judgment and approach situations with more empathy.
Yeah.
It helps us declutter those negative thoughts we might harbor toward others.
So it's about shifting our perspective from why are they doing this to me
Right.
to what might they be going through.
Exactly.
That's a huge mental shift.
It is.
But it seems like it could be incredibly freeing.
It certainly invites a more understanding and less reactive approach
Right.
to challenging relationships, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked a lot about letting go of the negative.
Right.
But Declutter Your Mind also explores the power of positive thinking,
Right.
which, to be honest, I've always been a bit skeptical about.
Okay.
It sometimes feels a little too woo-woo for me.
I understand your skepticism.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people share that initial reaction.
Right.
But what's intriguing is how the book grounds this concept in science
Okay.
by connecting it to the brain's reward system.
Interesting.
It explains that when we engage in positive thinking,
Uh-huh.
our brains release dopamine, which essentially rewards us
Oh, wow.
and reinforces those positive thoughts.
So it's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
The more we think positively, the more our brains want to keep doing it.
And it goes beyond just feeling good.
Okay.
Studies have shown that positive thinking can have tangible benefits,
Like what?
like reduced stress,
Okay.
improved immune function, and even increased resilience
Yeah.
in the face of challenges.
That's pretty amazing. You know, there's a story in the book about a man with terminal cancer
Oh, yeah.
who used laughter to help him cope with his illness.
Right.
It's a powerful example of how our mindset
Uh-huh.
can impact our well-being,
Yeah.
even in really difficult circumstances.
That story is incredibly moving, isn't it?
It is.
It highlights the idea that while we may not always be able to control our circumstances,
Right.
we can choose how we respond to them.
Right. And to help us cultivate a more positive mindset,
Okay.
the book offers a practical tool called the 10-minute daily declutter cycle.
Right.
It outlines 5 simple steps we can take each day
Okay.
to clear our mental space.
I like it.
Can you walk us through those steps?
Absolutely. The first step is awareness,
Okay.
which involves taking a few moments to simply observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment.
Okay.
The second step is acknowledgement, where you identify those thoughts and emotions that are causing you stress
Right.
or holding you back.
Okay.
The third step is analysis,
Okay.
where you delve a little deeper into those thoughts and emotions, asking yourself why they're present
Uh-huh.
and what purpose they might be serving.
So it's about getting curious about our own mental clutter,
Yes.
figuring out why it's there in the first place.
Exactly.
What are the last 2 steps?
The fourth step is action,
Okay.
which is where you actively choose to let go of those unhelpful thoughts and emotions.
So how do you do that?
This could involve reframing them,
Okay.
challenging them, or simply acknowledging them and letting them pass.
Okay.
And finally, the fifth step is appreciation,
Okay.
which is all about focusing on the positive aspects of your life
Right.
and cultivating gratitude for what you have.
I love how simple and actionable those steps are.
Yeah,
It feels much more manageable than trying to overhaul your entire thought process overnight.
exactly. The book emphasizes that consistency is key. It even suggests a 66-day challenge,
Oh, wow.
where you focus on incorporating one new habit from the daily declutter cycle into your routine
Okay.
for 66 days straight.
So almost 2 months.
It highlights the idea that small, consistent actions can lead to significant changes over time.
That's encouraging. And it seems like that same principle applies to decluttering our digital lives,
Yeah.
which is another area the book dives into.
It's an essential aspect of mental decluttering, would you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Our digital spaces are often overflowing with distractions,
Right.
from cluttered inboxes to endless social media feeds.
Oh.
All of that competes for our attention
Uh-huh.
and makes it harder to focus on what truly matters.
Oh, it's so true. I know I'm constantly battling notification overload and
Yeah.
feeling the pressure to keep up with everything online.
Right.
The book has some surprisingly simple tips
Okay.
for tackling that digital clutter. Things like clearing your desktop,
Yep.
unsubscribing from those tempting email lists,
Oh, yeah.
and being more mindful of our social media use.
For sure.
What resonated with you from that section?
I think what struck me most
Okay.
is how the book ties digital decluttering
Uh-huh.
back to the overall theme of focus.
Right.
It challenges us to consider how much time and mental energy we're devoting to these digital distractions.
Right.
And encourages us to reclaim that space for more meaningful pursuits.
It's not about becoming a tech hermit, right?
Right.
It's about being more intentional
Exactly.
with how we engage with technology.
Yeah.
I think that's a really empowering message.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about taking control of our digital lives.
Right.
Rather than letting them control us. And ultimately, I think that's what this entire book is about.
Okay.
Recognizing that we have the power to shape our thoughts.
Yeah.
And choose where we focus our attention.
That reminds me of the book's closing message
Okay.
about regaining faith in our own free will.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that
Yes.
we're not just victims of our circumstances or our crazy busy lives.
It's a call to step into our own agency.
I like that.
To recognize that we have the ability to shape our thoughts.
Right.
And in doing so,
Yeah.
shape our reality.
You know, it's interesting that the book also touches on the idea
Yeah.
of decluttering relationships.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that concept.
What's fascinating
Yeah?
is how it challenges us to apply the principles of decluttering to our social connections, just as we might hold on to physical objects that no longer serve us. We can also hold on to relationships
I see.
that drain our energy
Yeah.
or no longer align with our values.
It makes you think about the energy we exchange in our relationship, doesn't it?
It does.
Are we giving and receiving in a way that feels healthy and supportive?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book encourages us to evaluate our relationships and consider whether they contribute to our mental clarity and well-being,
Right.
or whether they add to the clutter.
That's a great question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What one relationship in your life could benefit from a mental declutter?
It's a good one.
Maybe it's an opportunity to set some boundaries,
Right.
have an honest conversation, or even, as the book suggests,
yeah.
gracefully let go of a connection that's no longer serving you.
It's a powerful reminder that just as we can declutter our physical spaces and our minds,
Right.
we can also declutter our social lives
Yes.
to create a more supportive and fulfilling environment for ourselves.
And what I love about Declutter Your Mind is that it's just the starting point. It's part of a whole series with additional resources on topics like money habits and personal growth.
Really?
It even offers free chapters from other helpful books.
It's great.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone looking to simplify their lives, clarify their minds,
Yeah,
and create more space for what truly matters.
it is.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to do some serious mental and emotional cleaning.
Me too.
Thanks for diving deep with me today.
It's always a pleasure to explore these empowering concepts together.
Right.
Remember, a clutter-free mind is a powerful mind.
Yes.
So go forth and declutter.